The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
Here in Fargo, as we're getting close to wrapping up the week, Cadet Greco winding down, about to have the finals here shortly with manager of Greco-Roman programs for USA Wrestling, Gary Mayabb. Gary, moving into the second year of this position with USA Wrestling. First of all, how's life for you in Colorado Springs?
Life's great. I'm just hardly ever there, but it's good. It's been really good. On the road a lot this spring, almost the whole spring, and I think I've been I was in for camp for 4 days. And other than that, I think I've had 7 days and 7 weeks, so it's been good.
So, you and Joe Russell were brought in. He's your freestyle colleague on that side of the fence, although he's more of a Greco guy, go figure.
Absolutely.
But, what has that position been able to do, and what first intrigued you about the position, and how have you guys started to see already bear fruit from that work so far?
Well, I think, first of all, Coach Lindland and the program, and it's been there. It's that Coach Lindland was doing an awful lot of one-man mechanics, and I think that was one of the things that allowed us to diversify, put more people out. We had 17 national workshops across the country this spring and early summer, and that was getting out and find out what was there. We have a coaches summit coming up right before we go to Worlds. We're inviting coaches out, and we're starting some new programs right now. So to be able to do that, and the intriguing part is just to be a part of Greco and help with the movement, and try to move the needle a little bit at a time. And I've been amazed by all the coaches, across the country. And there's so many people in so many areas that truly love Greco. I think we just got to organize it a little bit.
One thing that has kind of raised some eyebrows the last 2 years here in Fargo, freestyle's gone first. And some people were thinking that took the focus away from Greco. That doesn't seem to be the thoughts in the Greco camp nationally.
I don't think so. I think that for the most part, everybody's, starting to see it now. I think anytime there's change, there's questions, But I think some of those questions got answered. I know that we're 5 people down from where we were a year ago, but at the same point in time, if you look at the brackets, and I know you do very well, I think that we're finding out that we have more of those top 16 type kids. And those athletes are here and they're staying. And, when you look at the finalist sheets and you see freestyle Greco just throughout the whole thing, that tells you there that we're running with some of our best athletes. We're running dual pathway up through cadet and junior. And that's where we want to be, because that way then they get the power of choice. They can go freestyle route or they can jump back over and go Greco route. And I think that's what's going to strengthen us. But we've got to run dual pathway up through junior division.
So, and it used to be when the national rankings, the internet, the prevalence of this tournament's always been important for the college level. But when you're seeing national rankings, kids are like, man, I really need I want to perform well at juniors. And they say, I'm going to skip Greco because I don't want to go 8 matches and get beat up and not be fresh for freestyle. Now, on the flip side, you're seeing guys that may have gone 2-2, had a bad tournament in freestyle, like, well, I came out here to win.
Absolutely. And I think even more so, take what you said and expand on it. The athletes that I used to as a Greco coach for a state was ask some of your best wrestlers, and if they got like 5th or 6th the year before in freestyle, they're like, man, coach, I love Greco, but I really want to make sure that I'm fresh going into freestyle. And now you come in, you wrestle. Now we got 2 weigh-ins for freestyle because it's 3 days. We got 1 day for weigh-in for Greco. I think there's several things that's turned out very good for us right now.
When it comes to you personally, you stepped away from college officiating and high school coaching. How big of a change was that for you to go from, you've been a part of the USA Wrestling family for a long time, but now it's you don't really have the opportunity to bring kids who've never wrestled before and put them in the lineup and things of that nature?
Well, you always miss that personal relationship that you get, that moment of opportunity where the young man walks through the door and says, I want to wrestle. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay. And then watching that journey take place and then handing that athlete off to somebody. Those are magical moments, and we all miss those type of moments. But at the same point in time, I'd said for the last 20 years, throughout the summer when I was always working with USA Wrestling, was there would come a day in my life where the only thing I do is wake up every single morning and think about Greco-Roman wrestling. Now we're here. I used to wear 3 hats, and you had a summer hat that I was always going on for Greco, and then during folk style season, it was always, work hard during the week, call on the weekends, officiate. And so this has been again, so many things has happened in the last 14 months to enrich, our lives and that. And again, if I had my family with me, then it'd be a perfect job.
Yeah, about the family, I've had the opportunity to get to know your family, Dort, your wife especially, for the last several years, work with her, announcing events, World Cup, NAI championships. Generally an extremely fun person to be around, somebody who'll give it right back to you. Really just basically, she'll brighten your day in the right type of mood. And I guess that's the struggle. You got a teenage daughter, and, being apart, this is, how tough has that been, that adjustment for everybody?
Well, I'm just so thankful for her because she's so strong, and like you said, I miss her to pieces because of how funny she is. And our youngest, we got 2 older ones, and they're great because they're up and they're in their own careers and they're doing great things. But this youngest one, I loved having that relationship. She was a manager for us as a freshman my last year, and every morning we'd get up at 5:30 and go in for morning practice, and she got up every morning. So it was that kind of a deal where we were together all the time. And now we steal these moments like this 8-day period of time here when she's announcing here and those kind of things. That's been a blast to get with both of them because the daughter's working here, Grace is working here, and then the rest of us are, we get that time together now. And, like you, I saw you at NAIAs and I missed World Cup, but other than that, stealing those moments when both of us are working, so to speak. And so that's been really good for us because otherwise we'd be a lot longer. But we try to make sure that each month or every 6 weeks we reconnect again. So but we talk every day, but it's made it a little tough, but it's been again great it's a great learning experience for me, and she knows that, and so both of them have been very supportive of the change.
And it really helps that she's been getting more USA Wrestling events. Again, it's okay. Well, Dort definitely wants to see Gary. Well, yeah, we're bringing her in.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a good thing. It's been one of those areas that again get to steal those moments. It's been good.
Now, circling back to, I'm really curious about the work balance, not the work-life balance, the work balance of when you were a high school coach to a high-level NCAA official. I mean, and your relationship with Mike Haggerty is also, you guys travel in a pack together pretty much, and you guys both did it. The same thing. You were both high school coaches. You were both high-level NCAA referees. So what goes into being able to balance those two worlds?
We always say that when we do clinics for officiating, we used to always say, don't do it this way because it's the wrong way to go. But it's been great. Hag and I, we grew up together. We both coached college together. We wrestled in college together, and then we had an opportunity to, be 30 miles apart. He worked for USA Wrestling for over 6 years, and we missed him then, got him back in the state, and then he was in our conference. So, and then he kind of ran the freestyle side, and I got to run the Greco side for a while there in Missouri. So it's been a constant get to, talk to one another almost every day, and now that's a little bit changed. We still talk all the time, but getting to see him back here this weekend and that kind of thing, it's always fun. But it's that trading ideas and stuff like that. And again, I don't know. I don't know what his approach would be to that, but I do know this. I know I couldn't have pulled that off without him. I know that the time commitment and the issue of trying to do the best for those NCAA athletes and the coaches because they work so hard, you want to make sure you're on top of your game. At the same point in time, you have 62 athletes on your high school team looking at you and 8 other coaches saying, what's our next move? And so you want to be great for those reasons. And the bottom line is both of us wanted to be great teachers. And we were teachers first and coaches second. So that was all that on the plate. And now we get an opportunity to really wake up every day. And now we're looking at schedules that go 2 years out, and so it's a different way of looking at it. But, man, is it fun.
One thing that he did, I noticed a couple times throughout the course of outbeat events that he was officiating is when you have to referee the guys you coached in high school that are wrestling at the next level. I mean, how often did that happen to you, and how tough was that I coached this kid in high school, now I have to officiate his match in college?
I tried to avoid that as much as possible, and the only time I really got caught was when I was working duels. And, I tried to pick and choose the duels to where I didn't have that happen. And literally in the 35-year run, I know that I never ref more than 5 to 6 matches of my own athletes. So I got so lucky in that regard. And I know that Hag may have ran into a couple more situations just by the nature. But like in NCAAs, when you have an athlete coming up, you can trade out with somebody. And at least, if nothing else, take the outside, and so that was the way that we normally try to handle that. But that's a great one, and you always want them to move up, but then you look on the schedule and go, oh, they've made the lineup, and here comes the schedule. So that was one of those things that we had to work with every once in a while. I
just remember Haggerty having to ref Chianuma at National Duels that year in Minneapolis, and it was like, wait a minute, wait, what? It's one of those things. But another thing, and you alluded to this about wrestling in college, is there's a real good core of coaches in the state of Missouri that are from that era at Central Missouri. What was special about Central Missouri back then known as Central Missouri State, now it's the University of Central Missouri, but the days as a mule, what made them so great, and why are there so many good coaches that came out of that era?
Well, I think, first of all, we were all under a man that was bigger. I mean, he's the Mike Denny type person. I mean, he was a colonel. Roger Denker was a man with a plan, and he always had a plan, and he made sure that we always had a plan. And then the other thing he did was he looked at Hag and I and said, you guys are refereeing. You guys are going to go do clinics. And because of that, he offered that and demanded it of almost all those wrestlers. So he's done a favor to the community and the community of Missouri wrestling by doing that. I mean, he put out an awful lot of really good coaches. And so we were very fortunate. The other thing is we were just very tightly knit during that time, and we still get together all the time. We're always in communication with our peers and our colleagues at the time. So it's been a lifelong thing. And I know wrestling breeds that, and that's one of the greatest things about our sport.
Yeah, I mean, there's bike rides. I was wondering, did Denker look at Gary Irvin and go, look at you and Hag, you're going to referee, looks at Gary and goes, you're going to climb Mount Everest?
Twice, and exactly. But I think that like Herb, I mean, there's a man that gets done with college. He gives 1 year of coaching to him, and then goes down and buys a military base and sets up a business plan and takes off. I mean, and so those are things that just being around those men. I know that Hag had a couple of our teammates with him in Vegas and as well up here. And so getting around Bob Hartley and those guys again, it's been a blessing, obviously.
Yeah, and for those who don't know the reference, Gary Irvin was on The Amazing Race a couple times with his daughter, who was Miss Kentucky. He was coaching. I remember watching that, and I'm like, he's wearing a UC wrestling shirt on the show. I'm like, what is that? What is it? I was thinking, well, Kentucky was at the University of the Cumberlands before we figured out it was Union County, and there's like 500 Irvins that wrestle out of that family. So it's kind of cool to see, all right, you end up, see college coach be like, oh, okay, oh, yeah, you wrestled for my teammate.
Yes, those guys, either they went to Central Missouri or many of them went to SIU Edwardsville, at the time. And so that family there in Kentucky has changed the shape of wrestling in that area. And so many of our teammates are like that in different areas. I mean, again, you just look at people across the nation and what they've done. And so we've been very fortunate to have that bundle of guys in that small community there at Central Missouri.
Swinging back to Greco, of course, we're just coming off a I'd say successful series of events called Final X, and that was men's and women's freestyle. And of course, again, the fan base that seems a little sensitive about what are we doing for Greco? What are we doing for Greco? Can you give a little maybe behind the scenes on why the decision Greco wasn't involved and what the thought process was between you and Matt and Rich Bender and Cody Bickley about this is not right for us right now, or what was the basic mindset?
The mindset is that we want to, obviously we're partnered up with two of the best teams in the world. I mean, men's freestyle is the number one freestyle team in the world. Right now, I mean, I think it's a pretty good argument that right now the women's are the number 2 team in the world. And when you look at how much success they've had, in America, America wants winners. And the bottom line is that we were looking at turning over a rock that maybe hadn't been turned over to find out if there's a way to develop this. So looking at a way of trying to either have some athletes that run this dual path that we were talking about here at juniors and cadets, that those guys that had ran the dual path, if they didn't make a freestyle team, let's see if we couldn't add to our depth on the Greco side of it. And by doing that, let's move our final situation there in Tulsa 5 weeks after. Well, when Final X came out, we had already decided to move ours after freestyle so we could wait and see what came out of that. And, just some things happened where, first of all, Zilmer and Adam Kuhn both get put on the final date of Final X. You put the true thirds, all true thirds went on that date. It was just one of those things that you make a good plan and it looks good on paper, and then all of a sudden it kind of fell apart a little bit. But I think overall the plan itself was to try to enrich and look at the things that we could do. I mean, I love the fact that, if the athletes themselves lost a little bit of airtime, that's on us, and we didn't want that to happen necessarily. But at the same point in time, we felt at the time the best thing for the program was to try to build our base stronger. As we move towards Tokyo, we need to try to build that base a little bit deeper and then see what the possibilities are. And out of that, I mean, we still end up getting, at the bookends, you've got Sam and you've got Adam, and I mean, what great situations there. I mean, Sammy, fortunate enough to be at University Worlds in his corner when he won there, and then now he comes back to us, and that's going to be another big part of this. And I think that, we had 2 or 3 guys that was in that true third wrestleback that would have jumped over. They'd already told us that would happen. And then you add in, Don Bradley crosses over, and that's a starting point. And we're just looking for the options of what could let us grow. And on holding it the same, we didn't feel that would happen. So, we took a risk on that. Now, will we take that same risk again? We're looking for feedback for our national coaches. We're looking at our military base, the guys that really back us hard. We're asking them those same questions right now. And then we're going to ask the general base, and we're going to look at it, and we're going to reevaluate.
One thing that I was wondering how much this was a factor is putting it with the junior duels. There you have the junior level. So these guys are looking to make college decisions soon, and there's a couple hundred of them, 30, 40 some teams, and they're there for a week, and you've got their attention. So how much was that a factor? Say we need to put our senior athletes in front of our juniors to see, hey, this is what we are doing here.
We've got to work very hard to create this path and show dual pathways, show there's a way to go through NCAA, because now we're getting more Greco-friendly RTCs to jump on with us right now. So that's one benefit that we got even going back to Akron. And then when we paired it up, because there we paired up our we always have our university with our cadets, and then we were able to go back and pick up duels, and then pair our junior world team trials at that. Then we were able to pair up our senior world team trials with our junior duels. So across the board, we had 3 events there that all did what you did, what just talked about, where we could showcase what the next path looks like, get our coaches around to where we could see them. And, and two factors there was that we know that we already got 3 athletes from that area that you just talked about that committed to Northern to go 2 from high school and 1 that just graduated. So, I mean, that right there created a win scenario for us. That was a great situation. Rob Herman and Annie Biesick is doing a great job at Northern right now, and we feel strong about what's happening. I mean, they've got the bulk. They've got 7 guys on the U23 team. So we're going to do our U23 camp at Northern this year because we don't have to move very many people. They've been incredibly successful this spring and summer. So that's one area. Another thing that we had going is that Matt and I, we wanted to make sure that we developed that younger group. We had 108 Greco-Roman age group athletes at schoolboy and cadet at 4 different tournaments on April 30th in Europe. And I know that's never happened. So that was fun because, this year at cadets when we went to Croatia, we had 6 of our athletes that had never been overseas. their first trip overseas was the World Championships. Those kinds of things we've got to get better at. And so we're working at that too.
You mentioned Northern. What about the progress that John Drendel's doing there with basically the experiment at Williams Baptist?
John Drendel, he works closely with Team Illinois. Illinois, obviously, running the show again. It's awesome to watch Medlin and his crew go to work and what Baker's put on the mat for them. And so I think the whole institution of Illinois is doing great. But with that, when you tie in with other, I know that John has gotten a few of those athletes down there. I think that now, Kerry set the thing up. Kerry Regner set it up, and now John is in charge. And I think, now we're in that year 2 going through, and I think it's getting stronger. I know that there are people talking about not only going there, but actually now signing up and going. So we're excited about that because we want that model to work so that we can make that model happen at another place as well.
Yeah, it was actually a kid who was in the junior freestyle finals who's going down there for the Greco program. He's not going there to wrestle the collegiate style. He's going down to wrestle Greco.
That was awesome. And again, we're seeing that. Again, I think that part of the deal is creating the opportunity. That's why we moved back 5 weeks from the original Final X schedule. When we look at how can we provide more opportunities for our juniors to mix into U23s, to mix in, because that gives us our depth again. We have, Kamal Bey, who's going to be on our junior and senior world team. We had 2 other athletes that was very close to doing that. So we're looking for any way that we can to create depth within our Greco programs.
Last question. This could be a plug because guys come on the scene the last couple years and really created a real community, a website for Wrestling 5-Point Move. Timmy Hands has done an amazing job. National Wrestling Website of the Year by the Media Association. The guy pays attention to his craft. And as a coach, and what do the athletes feel? Of course, USAWrestlingTheMat.com has got a bunch of the stuff and has always supported the style, but Timmy is only talking Greco here, and that's got to make you smile a little bit. What's your response been the last 2 years that he's been up and running with it?
Well, first of all, you're right. What Gary Abbott does for us and his staff is great, but when you add to that and you have a man out there that is looking, and just kind of what I said earlier is that he wakes up every morning and it's Greco-Roman, and it is 24/7 with that man. And the deal is that when you talk to him, his knowledge base, it's like yours, where you can pull things out. And when I talk to him as a coach, he may be interviewing me, but in the middle of it, I'm taking notes because he's throwing out things about foreign athletes. He's looking at things that we're looking at. And when you run into people that's on the media side, that they're the ones displaying and dispersing the information out there, but yet they're as knowledgeable as the coaches are in who's out there, what does pairing look like. He recognizes what a win is or what it is not, simply by who. He can look at the name and go, yes, that's a great win, and then he's able to bring that out. And so much of that. And the thing is, because he's stayed entrenched in it, he's moved us forward. There is no doubt that he's putting a voice together with it. He's got an unbelievable following now, and I think that's another one of those things that we've got a whole bunch of people in America that really love Greco. We haven't organized them yet, but that man is probably doing the greatest job at organizing the Army. So we can't thank him enough. I know that what he does for all of us makes a difference. And again, I know it's just like this right here. You coming over, at the end of the day, your knowledge base of the athletes that are here, you understand it, you get it, and then you can put forth a very intelligent statement out there. So it's super important for all of us.
Gary Mayabb, thanks for the time.
Thank you very much.
The Short Time Wrestling Podcast is proudly outfitted by Compound Clothing. Shirts, singlets, custom gear orders, everything you need. Call up Cliff and the crew at cmpteamwear.com. First time listening? Well, you can change that by going to mattalkonline.com/get-short-time to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or listen on your favorite podcatcher at mattalkonline.com/listen.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to mattalkonline.com.